I'm going to show you 10 interactive Unreal Engine tutorials in 10 minutes. So let's go. First one is setting up a project. So we're going to go to our library. Hopefully you've already got Unreal Engine installed, and we're going to launch Unreal Engine. I'm going to make a blank game, name it, and now we are in Unreal Engine. So we are going to make a new folder. 10 tops. New game mode. New level. And then we're going to actually nick something from this one. We're going to add our sky sphere, and we're going to chuck it in this level. So there, basic setup. Next tutorial, let's get some interesting stuff in here. So let's make a material. I'm going to call this BG mat. Going to go in here. We're going to change this to unlit, and then we're going to get our emissive color, promote that to a parameter, and then this is going to be our background color. And I'm just going to use like a sort of light blue, basically. And then we're going to drag that onto our thingy, and we're also going to make a skylight 0 as well, and then we're going to change that to be, I don't know, some kind of HDRI, something like that. And then we're also going to add a cube to our environment. And we're going to put that at our 0 point as well. I pressed F to like find my cube and then like look around and stuff. Cool. So we've got our cube and we've got our environment. So now I'm going to set up a UI with a little button that does something. So we go user interface, widget, bottom widget. Go into here, we need a canvas panel. We need a button. And you know what? Let's have some text. And we're going to change the text to say boosh. And our button, we're going to change the size to content, and then we're also going to change the anchor for it to be right at the bottom. And to do that, we need that to 0, this to 0.5, and then that to 1, and then it'll be kind of like above the bottom bit. And now what we need to do in our game mode is we need to go to here, create widgets, find our button, add to viewport. And then we need to change a couple more things. So we need to go set game mode to game and UI. We need a player controller for that. And then we also need to show the mouse cursor. Set show mouse cursor and hook that all up. And then just to test it works, let's go into our button. Make that variable, go in here, and then go button on clicked, print string, and then let's just change the color of this so we can actually see it. And then let's just like play in editor so we can actually see our game. Sweet, it hasn't come up on the thing. Why is that? Because we haven't set the right game mode. So we go into project settings, maps and modes, 10 tuts, and then 10 tuts. And now it will actually show up because we're actually using the right game mode. Here we go. So we can press the button and we get the thingy coming up, which is great. All right, let's make it do something to the cube. So for that, we need to turn our cube into a blueprint, and we can press this little button here. We're going to harvest the components because we just want it to be a basic actor, and it's going to be in the right place anyway. Blueprint, that's fine. And then let's make a custom event. Call it Boosh. And then from this custom event, we need a timeline. And we're going to make a little track here. We're going to change this to 1 second. It doesn't need to be very long. Add a float track. We need 3 points. This one will be 0, 0. This one will be 1 and 0. And then this one will be maybe like 0.05 and 1. So now we can see there's like a ramp going on there. So what we can do back here is when we do this, we'll play this timeline, and then that's going to change the scale. So let's get our static mesh, set scale, set world scale 3D, which is fine, update, and then we're going to lerp between two values, lerp the vector. And actually, we want to start at 1, because otherwise it will just be like invisible, because it will be like 0. So we want to start at 1, which is the size that it already is, and then maybe like go to 2, come back down in our ramp. So let's see what happens when we hook up our button widget. So what we need to do here is just go on here, get vector of class. We want our cube blueprint, and then we want to say boosh. Sweet. So let's play that and see what happens. Boosh, boosh, boosh. That is what we want. All right, next, want to be more interesting, let's do some kind of movement and stuff. So let's blueprint class, let's make a pawn, 10 tuts pawn. Let's go in here and let's go on our event graph and let's go set vector rotation. Yeah, that's what we want. And then we are going to use kind of the mouse position to do this. So we're going to get position in viewport. We're going to get the viewport size. That won't be quite the right one. So we need the viewport scale as well, and then we need to divide that by our scale to be the actual same value, because essentially what we want to do here is change this to like a 0.1 value. So we're dividing like where the mouse is by the actual thing, and we'll get a 0 to 1 from that. And then we can break this out, and we can get a remap. What is it? Map range clamped. Yeah, that's what we want. Map range clamped. And then X value goes into that one, Y value goes into that one, and it's like 0 to 1 on each of those. And then what we need that to be turned into is a -1 to 1 to be able to like tell us where we want, like how fast to move around, basically. So -1 and 1. And then we could use those values straight away, but what I'm going to do is like set up another value to like multiply it by rotation factor. And then we're going to set that, like we can change this to like adapt things. I'm going to say it's like 3, and then we're going to do that one, and then we're going to make rotator, and then it's like the pitch and the yaw that we want to change. So on this X thing we want to change the yaw, and then on this one we want to change the pitch. I believe we'll soon know if it's wrong, and we'll do that on tick. So we could do it another way, but this is just like a simple way to do it. In order to get this to work now, we need to put some things into the environment. So we need a player start. I'm going to put that as 0, very important. I'm going to add a couple of bits to here because we don't have anything. We're going to do a spring arm. I'm going to add a camera to that. We're going to make this so it doesn't collide. And let's just check on here, generate overlap events. Yeah, we don't want that. And let's just test it. No, that hasn't worked because we haven't set what blueprint we want, what thingy we want. So class defaults, default pawn class is our 10 tuts pawn, and now that should be fine. Yeah, sweet. So now like we're sort of looking around. In fact, we can like increase that number that we set before, this like this factor, rotation factor. Let's set that up to like 15 or so. Cool, but now we're sort of looking around it. In fact, that's still pretty low. Let's change it to like 50. Yeah, we can like look around it and stuff. Cool. Let's make something happen when we click the cube rather than the button. So for that, we do need to make a little controller. So we're going to make a player controller. Let's rename that. 10 tuts controller. And all we need to do in here is search for mouse, and we need to enable click events and mouse over events. And then what that allows us to do is, as long as we set our controller in here, it allows us on our cube blueprint to, sorry, not that, we need to right click, add event, on clicked, to like trigger the boost thing. So we can actually just do this. It'll call the boost function rather than having to hook them up to the same thing. And let's make something happen when we do that. So let's just test it first. So that does boost, that's fine. Let's make it like change color. So, right, materials. Let's make a new material, cube, matte. And in here, we're going to promote this to a variable, base color, that's fine. Let's just do a 1 for our roughness. I don't want it to be shiny. That's all done. And then in our cube blueprint from our begin play, we can go create material instance. We need the cube mods that we just made. Promote that to a variable. And then we're going to set that as this material here. So we get our static mesh, set material. That goes into there, that goes into there. And now our cube is getting the material. It's not going to do anything yet. What we'd want to do is we're going to go get material, set a vector parameter value, which is going to be our base color. There we go. And then we want to make this. And then we want to go random float. And we actually want to do that for all three. So every time we click this button, it's going to change the color of the cube. And actually, it's kind of like dim. So what I'm going to do is in my skylight, I'm actually going to change this out to be like, I don't know, just a brighter HDRI. Sure. Whatever. That's fine. All right, let's make something else happen when we click the thing. Let's make some like particles emit. So we can make a new Niagara system, empty system, and that's particles in here. And then we'll use one that sort of already kind of does what we want, this like omnidirectional burst thing. You won't really be able to see it. They're very like small. Yeah, I don't know why they're so small, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Initialize particle. They're probably about the right size. I want to just turn off like gravity actually. And then what we're going to do is on our cube blueprint, on our bush, we're going to go, in fact, actually we're going to go here and we're going to go create Niagara, oh no, add Niagara particle system component. And then in here we can drag our particles into it. We need the relative transform, so it goes to our transform. And then we can see what happens when we click the button. Yeah, we get some particles. All right, so let's make them look like a little bit nicer. Let's go into here. We can make a parameter under this user parameters thing. If you're on parameters, you want the user parameters. And then we can go color, linear color. Let's just change that to color simply. Initialize particle, and then we can drag this over here to change the color that we want these particles to be. I'm also going to make them like slightly smaller, 1 and 1.5. And I'm going to add a curl noise because I just think this will look cooler. Turn that up to 500, turn that down to 20. And I'm going to add more of them as well. Where is it? Add state burst. Here we go. And let's just make like 2,000 particles. And then back in our cube blueprint, all we need to go do on this is set color parameter. Make sure it's got the same name as we just set. And we're going to use the same color as what we set the cube to be. And then we'll get a burst of these like particles. The way that we should do this really is to set this as a parameter, point to variable, set this to a color. Yeah, because it's calling a different random variable each time. So instead of doing that, we can set the color once and then pull the same color twice. And then that will be the same. So yeah, there you go. That is a bunch of tutorials in 10 minutes. And this is like super basic stuff. It could just be one long tutorial to copy this thing. But hopefully each of those little stages, and I'll put like timeline chapters in for you to like copy along. You could do something really different on each of those and like expand it in some different way or change some behavior or do something entirely different. But at least that gives you like an overview of things like how particles work, how color systems work, dynamic materials, sending functions to each other and like getting actors from different areas, bit of UI stuff. Like all of these things are like super useful little building blocks for building stuff. So if you've got any questions, thoughts, or like things that you would like to do with it or more ideas, then please share, please comment, and I'll respond and maybe do some other tutorials and things. But hopefully that was useful. Please let me know if it was or if it wasn't, and I'll see you next time.